I have no idea if that worked. Didn't look like it was working on my screen. I was trying to give us a fancy intro. Maybe it worked, maybe it didn't. I don't know. I'll have to look at it on playback. Anyways, so next lecture, infallibility. This one should be quick. We won't be jumping into anything. Quick update, right? The reason that this is kind of off days and off schedule is because I got a new job, and I'm still toying with the scheduling and refitting everything where it belongs, and making sure I have time to fit everything in, including these videos. So we're just going to get into it as quickly as possible. Infallibility. A Jedi is not perfect, right? Originally, this misconception was under righteousness. And it was because there was a lot of people in the community at the time who felt that their being a Jedi automatically made them right and made their actions right. There was a time when some people were and not everybody in the Jedi community is a Jedi, especially when you go to places like the Force Academy, okay, where different aspects reside under one roof. You have the shadow aspect, you have the light aspect, which is basically Jedi. But I don't know, that I'm not going to get into it. Let's just Jedi, Shadow Knights, and then you had the dark aspect, which, Sith, Dark Knights, like whatever little titles they like to play with as well. The point is that not everybody adheres to the same code of conduct or the same, choice to be a Jedi or live as a Jedi. So in the community, you will come across people that are acting as they wish, and they're free to. They're allowed to. That's on them, right? That does not affect, of course, how you behave. That just because someone else is being a jerk doesn't mean you get to be, right? You don't get to go tit for tat. But some Jedi felt you could, as long as you were doing it. I'm a Jedi, and I'm correcting this wrong, so I'm allowed to do whatever I must, right? They like to twist that Qui-Gon quote of "I will do what I must," Obi-Wan, right? Like they want to use that to kind of justify their erroneous actions. Now, so I was at a site, and some people were acting as they will, and things were getting heated and kind of off kilter. And people who wore the title of Jedi Master started answering the bad behavior with bad behavior of their own. In fact, they were instigating it. In the whole purpose, the whole point of them instigating it was so that they could get the individual banned and thus resolve the problem, right? But I was a moderator, and it was specifically my job to handle those situations within the Jedi, just within the Jedi. So when a Jedi Master starts acting like a 12-year-old kid and throwing out insults and being aggressive and being insulting and things of this nature, it fell to me to kind of address that situation. And when I did, not only did the Jedi Master, but plenty of people, plenty of his friends in the community, backed them up and were like, well, I'm doing this as a Jedi, so I'm allowed to. and that's not correct. Okay, and so the misconception of righteousness was there. Jedi, just because you do something in the Jedi name doesn't make it right. The ends don't justify the means. That is not Jedi ethics. That is not the way Jedi approach a situation. You're not allowed to do whatever you want to resolve a situation. You still have to work within the framework of being a Jedi. So eventually, like it turns out, there's if you get into the Jedi community, if you get into the internet culture, you're going to run into that, but it's very few and far between. And that's why it was changed to infallibility, because the bigger thing that you'll run into, and that I do see, not only just in the community, but in general, is that people kind of look to Jedi and hold them at a higher standard, right? And they express like, oh, you're a Jedi, so you will do better. You will do this, or you will. Oh, I know you won't fail because you are a Jedi, and it's and that's really that's just not how it works, right? Jedi do make mistakes. We are human. There are moments where we will fail, we'll stumble, along the path. And this is important for new students specifically. Look, the path is going to ask a lot of you. You're not going to be able to live up not only to the path, but to your own expectations. That's just not going to happen, okay? So you need to understand that you will, in fact, make mistakes. You will stumble along the Jedi way, and that's okay. All right? It's fine. It happens. Before I really got to the point where I am now, I had to face, I've had to do it a couple of times in life, but the last one was the biggest one, and it really made a difference on how I approach things and where I am at now as a Jedi and in life. The projects with the books and the documentaries and the interviews that have taken place. All of that sprung out of me crawling back up from a huge hole I had dug myself, where I had failed horribly as a Jedi. Not only did I fail, but I just stopped, basically. I was not doing any of the practices. I was not doing any of the habits, the traits, the tenets, I don't care what you call it, the goals, none of it, man. I was done. And not in but I was still online, and I was still wearing the mask of Jedi online. I knew it. I've been doing it. I had been doing it for years. So it's easy enough to type stuff out. It's easy enough to write a post online sounding all wise like that. What you're talking about, the Jedi way. But that has nothing to do with what you're doing in life. That has nothing to do with how you're waking up. And the fact was that I was waking up, and I was waking up and I was opening beers. I was sitting down, and then I would take a case of beer, and I would sit it next to my desk, basically here, and I would turn on the video game system, and I would drink beer and play video games all day. It was not just out of a result because, oh yeah, that's fun, it was a result of I was going through an emotional time. I was going through a tough time, trying to figure out, direction, purpose. I was just lost as a person. And instead of adhering to the path and kind of using that to guide me through life as I had in the past, I was crushed. I was tossed from side to side. As a Jedi, like at that time, people saw me as a Jedi Knight as well. I had served plenty of years in the community at this time, and I was running a website, not Jedi Living, but I was running a different website, and I was running a website at the time, and people were counting on me, and they were waiting for lessons and this and that. And that's why I say I could still put up lessons, but whatever that means, right? it's easy, at least to me, when you've been doing something for years, all your life. It's easy to fake it on an online environment. It's superbly easy. Um, but I was lost as an individual, and so I escaped. I was escaping. I wasn't dealing with it. I wasn't doing the practices. I wasn't doing the thing. I'd give a little time to check in with the website, make sure everything's running. But it was very clear in my online interactions, though, that I was not there. The things I was saying, the way I was acting, my attitude towards people, it was all bad. And it wasn't until someone at the site, someone that I was supposed to be training, right? Basically, she kicked me out of it. She called me on BS and was like, "Look, this is you're doing this, and you can't do that." And righteousness is a misconception. It was a misconception, right? It was an idea that the ends don't justify the means. Just because you're putting out lessons doesn't make you a Jedi, And just because I was carrying the title didn't make me a Jedi. I wasn't living it, and I wasn't acting it. And she called me on that. And it's that's what it was. I had failed as a Jedi. I had fallen off the path. I was not living it. And so I had to start at the beginning. And I did. I was like, all right, you're right. Now it's time to do something about it. And I did. And basically, I went back to, I started looking throughout the community for places to train. I started going through my own materials, started like training with my own materials again to kind of get back into that, going through the tier program that we offered at the website, and basically putting myself together slowly, but I was still having trouble with motivation. And that's when I found the Spartan races. And if you've seen like our charity event that's coming up, where we will be dressing up as Jedi, by the way. We've reached half of our goal, just as an update, throw that out there. But we've reached half of our goal, and so we will be dressing up as Jedi and going on a Spartan race. And it was the Spartan race that really kind of got me back into training and things like that. I was doing the Jedi stuff, but I was like, it's not manifesting in my life. So how can I do that? How can I bring it? Inspiration is important. And while Star Wars is great, there was no like lightsaber clubs around. There was no really cosplay groups around me. There was nothing where I could put on the robes or take the lightsaber and kind of, engage with the lifestyle in the fun way, right? Training should be fun. You need to have fun with it. Otherwise it's going to go, you're going to drive yourself crazy. And so the Spartan races were just a really good way for me because it felt like I was Luke on Dagobah. So it was my Jedi trial. That's what I was gearing towards. That's what I was training for, is to go on my Jedi trial. And it was ridiculously cold, wet, muddy. I wonder, I'll wait. Okay. So I'm going to show basically what I look like at the end. Horrible picture, but whatever. But point being is that's what I was training, or that helped me focus my training. That helped me focus my training. And it was good. And it took years though. I did that about a year out. I signed up for my very first Spartan race before the race. So I signed up and I had about a year. And I was like, I've been doing this for a long time, so a year should probably give me enough time to right my ship, to get back on course. Not saying I was a Jedi Knight, but certainly saying that I was back to, I could get back to the level before everything, kind of fell apart. I could get to steady ground. And that changed though, because as I progressed through the year, I was like, well, this can be better. So I worked on it. And then I started changing my practices, you know, for the Spartan race. It kind of forced me, well, what's a better physical fitness routine that I could do? And how can I incorporate, you know, a good meditation with this? And it forced me to kind of change up my exercises and practices and kind of improve upon them. And at the end of the year, ran the Spartan race. It was cold, it was wet, it was horrible. It was fun. It was awesome. Okay, here we go. So I should be able to do this. Let's close that out and go here and share. And there, yeah, you can see I'm cold, I'm wet, and I'm caked in mud. First Spartan race, fun stuff. Okay, I can stop sharing that now. That was up too long. So yeah, it was good. Afterwards, I was done too. I was cooked. I was tired. That was it. It was a long day. And so yeah, but I had failed. Like horribly. And it took me that year, it took me that year to get to a point where I could then grow again. Like it got me back to a starting point. It rebuilt the foundation. And it was technically a good thing, because I got to really solidify my foundation. I got to really experience the Jedi path when dealing with some really, really tough emotional issues and some really tough, you know, problems that I was going through. You know, life will do that to you. It'll throw you some curveballs, and you know, I found myself in kind of a dark place, and so it, you know, it tested the Jedi path. Is this stuff valid? And there were some areas where I was like, well, why don't we have this? Why didn't you know, the community that I created, how come that didn't catch, you know, my own, you know, stumbling and falling and failing sooner? Why wasn't there a Jedi? Why wasn't a Jedi there to kind of be like, hey, you know, it took a while. And, you know, like I said, there was a Jedi. She did slap me upside my head and help me, you know, realize that I did need to, you know, that I had failed. But that happens, and it was an important lesson. And, you know, I hope you never fall as much as I did, because you don't have to, right? You're gonna fail. You're gonna stop. Like people, especially if you become a Jedi Knight, you might get complacent. You might stop meditating as much. You might be like, well, I'll just meditate, you know, every other day. That'll be fine. But every Jedi that I've talked to that does that always comes back to, no, I noticed a change, that I was a little less patient after a while, and I was a little less, you know, emotionally stable after a while. But, you know, the point is that, like, you will come to a point where either you'll get complacent, or you'll just be challenged, and you will have a few days or maybe a week of just not being a Jedi, of just being like, I'm done, I'm out, like freaking out. Hopefully it's just like a day or something, right? And you can get home and you can get your Jedi on and get that meditation going, you can get that workout going, you can just hide in the bathroom, take a hot bath, like whatever that you need to do, and then get a good night's sleep, you know, eat a good meal, cheat meal, whatever, man. Like if it's a whole pizza, go with the whole pizza, like whatever you need. Or if it's just like a big bowl of salad, if it's going to Olive Garden and just eating nothing but salad and breadsticks for like 5 of their huge bowls, do it, you know, like whatever you need to do. And then your good night's sleep. And then maybe a donut in the morning, you know, like one of the ones with the sprinkles, you know, start your day off right. But then you can get back to being a Jedi. You can feel refreshed, you know, follow the path. It will do you good. That's what I learned through failing. was that I had stepped off and I wasn't doing anything, and that just led to a route in life that I was not. I would not be happy with myself if I had continued down that way. And as such, when you're not happy with yourself, you're miserable, and the world's miserable, and everything's horrible because you're not happy with yourself, and you know that, and you could be doing better, but here you are, doing the thing that is just making you more miserable. It's a cycle, man. You got to break it. But it happens. Failure happens, and it's okay. It's what you do with it, and what are you going to do with it? What do you want to be? Who do you want to be? Those were questions I had to answer myself. When I had stepped off the path, do I still want to be a Jedi? Do I, is this who I want to be? And as I was re-solidifying my foundation as a Jedi, all those answers, of course, were absolutely with adjustments. I did learn a lot. I did have to refine my own lessons. I did have to kind of understand where some of the things that I had trained when I was much younger in the Jedi community weren't really good. They weren't good for emotional stability, and there were some old Jedi lessons that kind of set me up for failure. Not to blame them, but you trust in the lessons, and you should trust in the lessons you're given in the Jedi community. They time tested, years of experience. But when I first started out, we didn't have the community that exists now. Definitely didn't have 20 years of history to back it up. And all the life experience of the thousands of Jedi who have lived it during that time. So it was a different thing, and our lessons weren't as good. And so there were holes, and there were pitfalls that you could fall into if you weren't careful, and I wasn't. And that happens. And so I rebuilt the foundation, which is now even built stronger with other Jedi involved, and I'm always passing my stuff off like, this is solid, right? But it's a thing. Jedi are not, perfect. They're not. They can fail. They are not infallible. I don't care what title they own. Yeah, I don't care if they're a Jedi Knight. I don't care if they're a Jedi Master. Okay, no one's perfect. The question is not if they fail. The question is, what do they do about it? Are they able to be a Jedi about it? Are they able to acknowledge it? Are they able to grow from it? Are they able to correct any mistakes made? And these are questions that will go to you if you stumble on the path, and you will. What do you do about it? Learn from it, grow from it, hopefully, because it works. The philosophy, the lifestyle, it works. At least it did for me, and it's done so for too many people for me to think that somehow I'm the exception to the rule, right? The path is solid. It wasn't always that way. It took us time to get here, but we have a solid foundation, and there's more to grow from. So all you new people, continue to grow upon it. These are just the foundations, and the sky's the limit. Get real force powers and a lightsaber in like 200 years. Let's have a Jedi Order. That's awesome, but let's build it. We need those solid foundations first, and that's going to take some trial and error, and that's going to take some mistakes. And all we have to do though is learn from it. Try to minimize it. Try to minimize any damage. Fortunately for me, when I in the example that I used, when I was going through that tough time, I didn't really. There was no real collateral damage because I had stepped off the path, because I had failed. I didn't end up hurting anybody especially as still pretending to be, right, like still running the website. Everybody who was there at that time, as the the wise Jedi who slapped me upside my head told me, she said, your lessons were good enough to work in spite of you. So yeah, obviously what I had put together was good enough because they all adhered to it, and they all kind of everybody who was there at that time has gone on to become great Jedi. And they continue to grow and continue to walk the path and continue to excel at life, and they're all doing phenomenal, and it's awesome to see, and it makes a difference to me that I didn't screw that up during that time, but I had the potential to, right? It could have gone a really different way, and it's important that we kind of minimize that if we can, and it's why it's important to kind of adhere to the path, because you're not perfect. You're not going to get it right every time. So really be mindful, really just adhere to the path. I think it'll work out well for you. If this is the life you've chosen, and this is the path you want to walk, I really fully believe it'll work out for you, but you're going to fall, and you're going to fail, and you're going to make mistakes. And that's okay, because we're here for you, and we're here to help you learn and to keep you going. You stumble, you fall, you get up, you dust yourself off, and you keep going. Simple as that. And I've rambled on this stuff long enough, repeating myself way too much. But there you go. There you have it. Not perfect. But we do what we can. We do improve, So, yeah, thank you for watching. And I'm not sure when the next video will be up. Maybe next week. I might go to Thursdays, depending. We have a coffee with Jedi maybe next Thursday. Might be this Thursday, tomorrow, or not. I don't know. So stay tuned. Figure it out. I'm making this stuff up as I go anyways. So, all right. May the Force be with you.